Now that brings us on to prosody. I love prosody. What is it? Well, it's intonation, really. Prosody is the sing-song of speech, the meta-language that we all use and we all understand. It's route one for emotion. It's the main way that we impart emotion in our speaking.
Lucy,
listen to this.
What can you see? Can you? I can see you.
Prosody starts really, really young. We learn it from our mothers from the moment we're born. And you notice that mother was using lots and lots of intonation of prosody, of sing-song in her talking. Even when she's saying diddly diddly do, it's diddly diddly do. It's all intonation to show that she's interested, engaged. Generally, intonation does deliver that. So it's a very powerful way of showing commitment, engagement in talk, passion, if you like. People who speak in a complete monotone are rather difficult to listen to, and that's where the word monotonous comes from. If you naturally don't have much prosody in your talk, again, you can get tuition. It's an incredibly important part of speaking. Varies, of course, by culture, by region, by language. Some tonal languages, like the Chinese tonal languages, you change the meaning of a word by changing the way that you say it. Now, I'm not sure the degree to which Western intonation, as I'm using it now, is possible in that scenario, but I'm sure there is a degree of prosody even in the tonal languages. For those of us who speak non-tonal languages, we have complete freedom to express ourselves in this wonderful way. And if you doubt it at all, just think of the different ways you can say the same thing with different impacts. For example, the no that you say when somebody's tickling you is rather different from the no that you say of a child stepping out in front of a truck. It's the same word, it means two completely different things just because you delivered it differently. Prosody is magnificent. It does change over time, though. We've got at the moment a prosody that's come in from, I think people debate this, but largely started in Australia, moved to the west coast of America, and this is upspeak, where I finish every sentence as if it were a question, even when it's obviously a statement. Now, if one gets into a repeating prosody like that, it rather restricts one's ability to express oneself. I think it's a bit sad if that kind of repeating pattern becomes the only way you can say a sentence. It robs the speaker of the richness of full prosody. So if you've fallen into that habit, I do recommend that you try to move away from it. It's not giving great value, and it's actually quite a weak way of speaking because that uplift at the end of each sentence is a question that collapses, do you know what I mean, or do you agree with me? There's a hidden part there, asking for approval at the end of each sentence. It's not a strong way to speak if you're saying everything as if it were a question. Let's move on. Now, there's a little exercise I'd like to suggest that you could do with prosody. And again, this is with two people, ideally. And, why not rope a friend in and teach them some great stuff about speaking in power? So the exercise is, if there's an A and a B asks A to go to the favourite movie they've ever been to without using any intonation at all on one note. And just see how that lands and how restrictive that is. And then swap and try it. And then the second part of the exercise is even more fun than that, if that's possible. And that is to say stuff with no words. The anthropologist Stephen Mython, who wrote a great book called The Singing Neanderthals, suggests that we used to speak this way. We used to communicate this way before we invented language. It was all about prosody and no words at all. So how about A tries to communicate some things to B without using words, just by using tone. So try happiness. Try sadness. Try anger. Try fear. And then try asking for something, asking the other person to pass you something. Say sorry. Offer the other person a gift. And call the other person's attention or ask them to follow you. My goodness, what a lot we can do without words at all. Prosody is fantastic.